Sponsors.
Assalamu alaikum. Hey, I just want to say thank you for tuning in to Think About It with me, Joshua Salaam, your host. I want to thank Penny Appeal. You can visit them at pennyappealusa.org. They are sponsors. This is a special show for me today. I have a guest, one of my favorite people out there, and you'll find out why in just a minute. But you got to come back, tune in, and then you'll see. Come right back with Think About It. All right, Assalamu alaikum. You are back with Think About It. I'm your host, Joshua Salaam. This is all brought to you by pennyappealusa.org. I want to thank our sponsors for doing that. But I'm here to tell you that the guest that I'm bringing on today, Sister Salma Abugideiri, I think you're going to really appreciate this guest. And so tune in very closely, listen to my introduction of her and this topic, and I think that you're going to watch this whole show. This definitely has to be one of the shows that you watch, and I'm saying that with full sincerity from my years working as a youth director, that this is an important show that I want you to watch. All right? Now, many years ago, about 25 years ago, I was a DARE officer. Stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education, DARE. And so I was a police officer in the military, and so as a police officer, a few of us got the opportunity to go into the public schools and teach the children about saying no to drugs and alcohol. Alcohol is a drug, but anyway, saying no to alcohol, other drugs, and cigarettes and things like that. And one of the things that we found is that you would see parents, that would be smoking a cigarette, and they'd be like, yeah. And then they would tell their child or a friend, yeah, don't ever start smoking, it's gonna be bad for you, things like that. Well, that advice has a lot more weight if it's something that they have done themselves, right? So if it's a person that has stopped smoking and is trying to advise you to stop smoking or not to smoke because of the harmful effects, the advice has a lot more weight, okay? So that's just one of the many examples that I could give you about how advice really lands on somebody, right? If there's a scholar who's telling you that you really need to read the Quran, you need to engage the Quran, or not. Let's not say a scholar. Let's say there's just a person in the community that's telling you you have to have a relationship with the Quran, read the Quran, and they themselves don't read the Quran or don't have a relationship with the Quran. The advice doesn't land as well as it would from somebody who is doing it, who is actively participating in it, right? If they want to tell you that, hey, you should drive this type of car, you should buy that type of house, you should go for this type of degree, you should, whatever it is, whatever the advice is, if it's somebody who has done it or is doing it, the advice just lands a lot more heavy. It still can be good advice, but it has a lot more weight if it's somebody who is actively participating in the thing that they're advising you on. Now, why do I say all of that? Because today the topic is counseling and dealing with domestic violence and dealing with trying to get a peaceful family inside your home, right? So I'm just coming out myself telling people that I think it is so important to get counseling. And I think that advice lands on people better if you know that I am also a person that believes in counseling and that gets counseling. And this message is directed to all the Muslim leaders. This isn't really directed to the people in the community, but the leaders of the community, the imams, the scholars, all of that. If you want to try to tell somebody in your community that they need to get counseling, that counseling would be good for them, it would land a lot better on them if you yourself are getting counseling, right? If you yourself are somebody who says that counseling is good, you shouldn't wait until you have such a huge problem to go for counseling, right? You should go get counseling if there's small things that you have a problem resolving, right? Don't wait for these small arguments to build up into this huge thing. Go early, right? So if you're just telling me that, and I know that you don't do it yourself, and that I know that you had an argument with your wife or that you had an argument with your husband, it's not going to land that well on me, right? So this intro that I'm giving here is really a message to the Muslim community and anybody who's listening. But my target community is the Muslim community. We have to normalize counseling. You have to normalize it. It has to be like an average thing, just like somebody goes for a medical checkup. For instance, that's one of the things that I say in any premarital counseling that I do. I used to do premarital counseling with the masjid. And one of the things that I would tell everybody any couple, no matter how young or how old they were, if they came into the office, I would say, make counseling like a medical checkup. Just do it. Just schedule it, right? Don't even wait. Just tell your spouse and your family, we go in June and October. Maybe it's once a year, maybe it's twice a year, maybe it's more. However often you want to go. Only two things are going to happen. One of two things are going to happen. Just like a medical checkup. Let's look at that. When you go to the doctor and they go, they squeeze that thing. I really like that thing. It squeezes your arm and then it releases and you feel your blood going. So they get that. And then, put something here, cough, all that. They look inside your eye with the light, right? They do all these tests and things. Maybe they even take some of your blood. Then the doctor might say, wow, keep doing what you're doing. Your diet must be good because your blood looks good, your heart looks good, everything is going well, your weight is good. Keep it up. And you walk out of the office feeling like, hey, yep, I'm at the right weight, I'm taking care of myself, and you feel good about yourself, right? And you know that whatever you were doing is good and the doctor wants you to keep doing that lifestyle. Or you go into the doctor and they do the same thing, they do all the check, and they say, you know what, I'm a little bit concerned. If you don't change your lifestyle, if you don't change your diet, you could have a major heart attack in the next 6 months, And I know so many people who have changed their lifestyle when they heard something like that from the doctor. It was preventative maintenance, right? They got some prevention advice like, oh man, thank God that I went in early and that my doctor gave me this advice that I could start working on ahead of time. So now when they go home, they eat less fried foods, they're eating more vegetables, they're drinking more water. Sometimes you see people going out for walks in the morning based on the doctor's orders, right? That's what's going to happen. One of those two things. Same thing with marriage counseling or counseling in general. So let's just talk about marriage counseling specifically. If you and your spouse go in for marriage counseling, one of two things are going to happen. The counselor is going to talk to you and have a conversation, and they're going to say at the end, wow, you guys are doing great. I love the way that you're communicating. You guys just seem to have such positive energy and chemistry. So keep doing what you're doing. And you feel good about yourself. You feel good about the relationship. And you walk out and you're like holding hands, skipping to the car. Your theme music is playing in the background. You can just hear all of that. Or you go in and you have that conversation with the counselor. And the counselor might say something like, you know what? I felt a little problem when you guys were trying to discuss this issue. And it seems like you need more work unpacking that. I would suggest you do this or do that before that becomes a big issue. And they are going to give you some advice, either tell you like some things that they noticed or areas that you could work on to make your relationship stronger. And you walk out saying, okay, we know what we have to work on. But either way, it's preventative. You are ahead of the game. You're not waiting, making counseling feel taboo, like you don't want to be even seen in the counselor's office because the community is going to be like, I saw such and such at the counselor's office and they must be having some problems in their relationship. And so that imam better not be telling me nothing because I saw him in the counselor's office, right? That's, I think, a fear that a lot of people have, like, oh, who are you to tell me when I just saw you getting counseling yourself, right? So when you watch this next segment, I think it'll put a lot of those arguments to rest and really talk about this is a model, prophetic model that we should be following of reaching out to get help, especially in our relationships, because it is our relationships that create a healthy household. It is the household that creates a healthy community. It is that community that creates a healthy world, right? And so trying to do top down by dealing with all these wars and crisis that's going on around the world, that's like a more difficult route than to everybody focus on your own house. Everybody focus on your own family and make sure that that family is happy, that that family is peaceful, that that family really feels the benefits of living this Deen of Islam and following the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is our goal today. So I hope that I've enticed you to watch this segment with Sister Salma Abugideiri. Once again, I'm gonna get on my jacket, look all professional, and invite her on. So if you promise not to go anywhere, I promise to come back. Thank you for listening to Think About It with your host Joshua Salaam. Thank you to our sponsors, PennyAppealUSA.org. And hold the remote, hold the keyboard on your computer, freeze, because we're coming right back.
So as you see here, there's a well being built. The locals used to walk miles to get clean, safe water, but now it's getting built right in front of the doorstep, which I think is a great thing. And you can see the women are out here, the men are out here, they're very happy to have this here. Please donate generously to this fantastic thirst relief project by Penny Appeal. Donate online.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It feels like I have seen you here before. Well, I am so glad that you came again to the Think About It show. That's what it says on the sign. I'm your host, Joshua Salaam. This is all brought to you by PennyAppealUSA.org. I have a special guest in the studio today, Sister Salma Abugideiri. She's a favorite person of mine, and in this interview, you will find out why. But I don't want to eat up any of her time because I got a feeling like we could talk out the whole 20 minutes. So without further ado, give a big round of applause for Sister Salma Abugideiri. That's right, I know you're clapping on the couch, and I'm going to tell you why she's special. First of all, I like to tell people that you are my counselor. Now, I know you can't say anything, but since I'm not bound by confidentiality, I let the world know, as a member of Native Deen, you know, we've been together doing music for about 20 years. As a host on Deen.tv, I have a counselor, and I think you should too. I think everybody needs to have a counselor. And I think the Prophet, I like to give the story, right? The Prophet, peace be upon him, with his wife Aisha, I believe it was. He got counseling from a friend, a family member, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us.
He had a couple of instances, right? So even when he first got the revelation, and he was overwhelmed and didn't really know what to make of it, his wife Khadija radiallahu anha took him to see Waraqa ibn Nawfal, who was a Christian, and was able to kind of give some advice to him, right? And he was in a state of anxiety and kind of really overwhelmed and didn't know what to do. And then the example you're referring to, I think, is with his wife Aisha radiallahu anha, when they had a dispute and they couldn't figure it out themselves. And they wanted to bring in a third party. And they had to choose together who to bring in, and ultimately agreed on her father, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And so he was brought in. And so yes, you're right, even the Prophet alayhi salam, he got help when he needed it. And
so if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. If you don't remember anything else for the show, just remember that. If it's good enough for the Prophet, it's good enough for us. So tell us a little bit how you got into this. And I know, I was talking with you earlier that it was kind of in the family lineage, but how did you get into counseling?
So I grew up watching my parents provide informal counseling to Muslims in the community. And because we always lived in communities where there were no other Muslims, people would come and stay at our home. So people would come from other towns and stay at our home for a few weeks over the summer. Youth, women who were abused by their husbands, people who were having other kinds of struggles, maybe spiritual struggles. And I got a taste for kind of the range of issues that people have to confront. At the time, there were not really any Muslim counselors that I was aware of. And along with my interest in psychology, I just decided that I wanted to pursue this as a profession and try to kind of fill the gap and offer this service in a professional way to the Muslim community. So
you have a pretty famous father. I think so. I know he passed away. May Allah have mercy on him. But what was his name, and why do you think he took this on informally when he didn't have to?
So his name is Ahmed Al-Qadi, and he was one of the founders of, or co-founders, or played a role in many of the institutions that we have now, the Islamic institutions. And I think the simple answer is he really tried to live the life of the Prophet, ﷺ. Like, he really tried to follow that model and to help people who needed help. And he had the personality. I mean, he was a very good listener, extremely good listener, very patient, very wise, mashallah. And my mother, who is now a clinical social worker, but was not at the time, also had, you know, the I guess, natural talents, right, to know how to help people, know how to advise. And so they really did that as a team.
He was a favorite. Actually, he's in one of my songs that is unreleased.
Really?
I made a song about MENA, Muslim Youth of North America, and then in the song I mentioned certain speakers that were like, I'll always remember. And Ahmed Al-Qadi was one of them, yeah. And along with Imam Siraj Wahaz, Jamal Badwi, Abdullah Idris, Ahmed Al-Qadi, that's how the song went, right?
Mashallah.
So yeah, he's definitely a good listener, and he just came across as a very peaceful person. So peaceful, that's my segue into this other project that you're working on. Is so you kind of had this, your parents had this natural gift. You grew up seeing this natural gift, and you say you were getting a taste of the issues and things like that just from being in the house. But now you grow up and you become a counselor, and there's another person who started a project. Once again, it wasn't like you didn't, I guess, intend on taking that mantle, but somebody invited you, and Allah is just guiding you into different things. So tell us about the Peaceful Families Project that you're working on.
Sure. So the Peaceful Families Project was established by Sharifa Al-Khatib, who has also passed away. She was really a pioneer in getting the topic of domestic violence in Muslim communities, for us to talk about it, like in sort of at a community level. So she's really a trailblazer, and she invited me to take over the project, which is it's a national nonprofit organization now, which I couldn't do by myself, although she was doing it by herself. So we have a whole team, alhamdulillah. And it allowed me the opportunity to kind of take what I learned from people who have experienced abuse and be able to put that in training to teach people how to prevent abuse in their homes, as well as to train our leaders, imams, also providers, non-Muslim providers who work with Muslims, how to work more effectively, and for our imams, how to work in a manner that really supports the victim and the survivor and doesn't perpetuate abuse.
So I had the honor of attending one of these training programs, and you put it on along with you have an executive director working under you, and it was a nice team.
Well, I'm working under her.
Oh, you're working under her. Okay, so you're working under the executive director, and you guys had a nice team. It was very professional. You had food and tables and a presenter and a PowerPoint. But I tell you, like, I did feel empowered after learning about all the ways that abusers can use the Quran and use the Sunnah to keep people in abusive situations or justify abuse. But then there was also this feeling of cultural norms, like people go into relationships with the expectation that this is my role and I have to be in this role. And so with the combination of culture and using religion that way, I just felt overwhelmed. Like it was too much to deal with. And I'm wondering, like, how you are able to keep moving forward in this sea of abuse. There's a lot of abuse out there, right?
There's a lot of abuse.
A lot of in the Muslim community, outside the Muslim community. How do you like keep going and not just like, I gotta focus on something else?
There are moments, very brief moments, when I feel too tired. But the idea, and then seeing people transform. Even when we do workshops on healthy relationships, sometimes people will come up afterwards. Like I talked one time about the purpose of marriage. That the outcome should be sakina, that mutual tranquility, which is right there in the verse. that we all have on our wedding invitations from Surah Al-Rum, right? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put mercy and compassion, love and compassion between our hearts, right? And so that you would find sakina. And this woman came up to me, she'd been married like 20 years, and she said, I never knew that. I never knew that was the purpose of marriage. So just something
been
like...
married 20 years?
She came with her adult daughter up to me with tears in her eyes. And I that makes it worth it to me. Or if an imam commits to getting more training on domestic violence prevention and risk assessment, and even imams who will go and then take up some counseling classes so that their counseling is more effective. Or they'll commit to working with mental health professionals and attorneys so that they have like a team in their community. So all of those things make it so much like worth it to keep doing it. It does make a difference. You just chip at it a little bit at a time, chip away.
And I guess it's a test of your faith, right? Because I do believe like Allah lets us know like the results aren't really your responsibility. You just do what you're supposed to do. So whether you save the world or whether you save one family, you're doing the work.
And if you save one life, as if you saved the whole of humanity, right? So, you gotta do. We can only do what we can do, right? Otherwise, you just feel helpless. But if I'm doing something, I feel like, okay, I'm making my little bit of difference. And if you make your little bit of difference, and we have more and more people doing that, then.
Well, it worked because I was a participant in that program where you were one of the presenters, and I got inspired. So when I got asked to do this show, I was like, well, I definitely got to have her on to talk about that issue. So it does, it's just like each one teach one, and it keeps growing.
It spreads. And
in that light, before we run out of time, okay, because I know I can talk and I can run out of time. I've done it before. We getting all this, by the way? Are y'all recording this? This is important information. Can I get an amen for the producers? Amen. All right, this is on. I want you to tell the world, because there might be some people listening who are either victims of domestic violence or who have seen domestic violence and have no clue what they're supposed to do. Maybe they've bought into that argument like, I don't want to ruin a family. They've been married for 15 years. They seem to be working it out. If the woman hasn't complained or the man hasn't complained or whatever, who am I to kind of come in and break things up? And they just kind of feel like it's not their responsibility, or it's not their, I don't know. It's just, they don't know what to do. So either they're victims of it or they've seen it and don't know what to do. And I'm hoping that you can tell the world in a couple of minutes, like, based on your experience, what should they do if they're a victim of domestic violence, or what should they do if they've seen domestic violence, to empower our audience?
Yeah, sure. I think it's really important. I mean, one thing just to put out there is that a lot of times people doubt themselves, like they're in an abusive relationship, but they try to make some kind of excuse for the abuser. He was just mad this time, or maybe I didn't do something right. And so people kind of get caught up in that self-doubt. And so the first thing I think is to really trust yourself. If there's something inside of you that's telling you that this relationship isn't right, like there's something in it that's not right, doesn't feel good, and it's potentially abusive, you just want to honor that in yourself and trust yourself, and then identify who is the person you can talk to about it, right? So whether it's a friend that you trust, or a domestic violence advocate, or a mental health professional, or if your imam is somebody who has some training, and you would know that because your imam would then be talking about domestic violence and khutbahs and things like that. You just need to go and consult with somebody who can then help you evaluate, is this really an abusive situation? Is it just a situation where there's poor communication skills happening between husband and wife? Is it like cultural misunderstandings? Because sometimes it can be very subtle. But sometimes it's very clear. If you're being beaten up, or you're being called names, or you're being threatened, those are clear signs of abuse. If you feel like your behavior is restricted, you're not allowed to go out. I don't mean like a parent putting a curfew on a child, they can't go out after midnight. I mean, you can't go to the masjid. You can't go take English classes. You're not allowed to learn how to drive. That kind of restrictive behavior that isolates a person. those are clear signs of abuse. And there's a lot of help out there. There's also a domestic violence hotline, which is 1-800-799-SAFE, S-A-F-E.
Let's say that again.
1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE.
Okay.
And so that's a hotline, national hotline, 24/7, where they will connect you with domestic violence advocates if that's a route.
Now you used a couple examples and said, well, those are examples of the clear examples of what?
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence. But I would argue that some people say, no, that's not so clear. Like, I'm the head of the household. Oh, first, let's do a disclaimer. Because we were talking before the show, a lot of times there's a lot of men who might get offended if I keep using he as the pronoun for the abuser or the offender. We are very aware, especially her more than I, that there are a lot of male victims of domestic violence. So we just want to put that out there for all of our listeners and any brothers who are victims of domestic violence. We know that that exists. But the reason that we're using he instead of bouncing back and forth is just for ease, and about 85% of the abused people are female, are women. So we were talking about that. I want that to be on record. But when a person says, look, I'm the head of the household, you know, and it's perfectly within my culturally, religiously, you can't go here, and I'm the one who's, and so everybody feels like, yeah, this is how life is supposed to be. Of course I can't just go wherever my husband doesn't want me to go, or do whatever my spouse doesn't want me to do. That's how the relationship is supposed to be. So how do you join those arguments with this thing that you said earlier, where's the sakina, you know?
So I got to push back. I mean, so the cultural piece, yeah, people might say this is how we do it in our culture. The Islamic piece, that's not how we do it in Islam. Because the prophetic model was a model where his wives and he had the ability to talk about things, discuss things. We have examples of multiple of his wives who were very involved in society, right? Would go to the battlefield with him. These were not women who were locked up at home. These were not women who didn't have a voice. His first wife and the wife that he was with for many years in a monogamous relationship, right? Khadija, 25 years. She was his employer. So we don't really have a model of the husband is this controlling and dominating figure, and the wife is this submissive person who has no personality. Like, that isn't really our model. Or
see how she paused on that? That isn't our model. What you got to say now? What you got to say now? He was married to his boss for 25 years. Now what?
And it was a beautiful marriage.
It was a beautiful marriage.
And she wasn't dominating either. Right. I mean, yeah, she was his boss in the business sense. Right. But they had a beautiful partnership. Right? I mean, he trusted her. She was the first person he told when he got the wahi, the revelation. She comforted him. She sacrificed all of her wealth for the cause of Islam. They had such a beautiful marriage, and after she died, he continued to talk about his love for her and to visit her friends, and you know, I mean, that was like, if we want to talk about a model, it's a beautiful marriage. So that's what we want our families in our community to have, that kind of marriage. You don't have to go marry your boss, but you know, that's not my point.
But that's a tangible example of the what somebody can go home and look at, right? So our listeners are looking, and you know, we're talking about these abstract things sometimes about the numbers, but then it comes down and say, okay, well, look at the prophet, and you know, at least look at the marriage between himself and Khadija. Allah be pleased with both of them, and it was a marriage of 25 years, and you're right, after she passed away, he had so much love for her that other people were still jealous of the love that he had for his wife that had passed away. So I didn't know all the stuff about him visiting friends and kind of keeping those relationships.
Yeah, he loved the people that she loved, that were close to her.
Wow, subhanallah. So we only have like a minute left, maybe almost 2 minutes. So I'm gonna just try to briefly touch on this last point. I'm gonna give all the last minute to you, the minute and a half. How important is it for people to break the taboo of counseling? because I know Imam Majid, my former boss, he would always say, you know, people wait so long for counseling that they don't come for marriage counseling, they come for divorce counseling.
Right.
Like they've just, because it's taboo, if they go, they feel like, you know, people are going to see me and think that, you know, I have a problem that I can't resolve. But we already talked about, there's examples where the Prophet went to, so if it's good enough for the Prophet, it should be good enough for us. What would you tell the people, like, how to, you know, break this chain of tense homes to create a peaceful family for the sake of their children, for the sake of their own selves? In the last minute, it's all yours.
Yeah, I mean, and I really appreciate you putting it out there that you have sought counseling, because I think that's part of the way that we change the culture, right? So that when, and I myself have been in counseling different times over my lifetime, because I think when we talk about it, we make it more normal, right? So all of us probably go to the dentist to get our teeth cleaned preventively, right? It's just become part of what we do. There's no stigma around it. We go for well visits, physical exams.
Right.
And so as we talk about counseling more openly and people become more comfortable, you know, with this as a healthcare practice, you know, for your well-being, I imagine we're going to see more of this trend where people are more likely to get premarital counseling, which is really key in, it can screen out potential abuse.
Right.
So it's really a great prevention, as well as learn some skills that could help you get off to a better start. But also to get counseling when the problems are small. Because just like anything else, you know, if you have any kind of illness and you go at the first symptom, the chance of getting it treated successfully is so much better. If you wait 10 years and this problem has now been growing for 10 years, you've got a mountain that you're bringing in, and people have developed so much resentment. It's not impossible. You know, we do this all the time, and people can
But
work
now you got
through
to
it.
chip at the mountain for like
But
so many
it's so
sessions.
hard, and people feel frustrated that they have to come for, you know, 6 months or, you know, 6 months of counseling. Whereas if we start to address these problems when they're small, you just clean them out and move on. And yeah, it's very doable.
It's doable, so let's do it. All right, let's go out there and call your local counselor, make a relationship with them that you can, you know, have them on your phone. For small problems, don't wait until they get big. We've learned so much in this episode. I told you it was going to be a great segment. We're coming back. There's more on Think About It. With Joshua Salaam, your host. Thank you to pennypilusa.org for allowing us to bring Sister Salma Abugideiri. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Since August 25th of this year, over 600,000 individuals have fled from Myanmar into bordering Bangladesh. They've witnessed crimes against humanity. The United Nations calls what happened in Myanmar textbook definition of genocide, textbook definition of ethnic cleansing. We've been here for the last few months, providing them with access to clean drinking water, providing them with access to primary healthcare services, helping them build their shelters, as well as giving them weekly food distributions. We can't fathom what they've witnessed. The ones that have arrived into Bangladesh are the lucky ones. They're now residing in between the 22 to 25 official refugee camps that have now been established. With your continued support, we want to secure their future. We want to stay for the foreseeable future so that we can dig more water wells, so that we can provide them with more medication and more medical advice, so that we can help build more shelters, especially with the winter coming and the cold setting in. Please visit our website to find out more about our work and to support us with your generous donations. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Joshua Salaam, and my time is counting down. Thank you very much. I know we're running out of time here, but we're going to get Sister Salma in to play the game that I always sometimes win, and she has graciously accepted to do this with us. So, but really, if you're only tuning in for this part of the show because it's your favorite part of the show, you have to go back and listen to the segment that we just did with Sister Selma. It was such important information in there that everybody needs to know. Me, my mother, my children, you, your parents, your children need to know this information. All right, so without further ado, are you ready?
Inshallah.
Now, I know I have to remind you how this game is played. I'm going to give you a one-word clue. One-word clue.
Okay.
Now, I'm harping on the one-word clue because Dr. Zainab Alwani stretched my rules. You know, she was like,
Did you break your rules for her?
yes.
Okay,
yes.
then I may do the same.
Mashallah.
I will try. I'll try. One word.
That's the power of sisters. They don't, they're not going to be held inside a box. They make their own path. That's how they're successful. Okay. Are you ready?
Inshallah.
Okay. Bismillah. ID.
Driver's license?
That means
No.
No. Your turn.
Okay. Escalator?
Escalator. I'm going to say elevator. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. That's
Yeah.
that's a good one. See? You got a point. You're
Okay.
winning.
All right. That's how I like it.
Okay. So I'm still on my first word. So my first clue was ID. Now I'm going to say metal.
Security?
Okay. I'm getting there. I'm getting closer. Your turn. You're on your second word.
Okay. Sailor.
Sailor. Boat?
Did you look at my list before?
No, I didn't look at your
Okay.
list. I don't know what's up with these people. But I think they used the boat before. But anyway, no problem. You're winning 2-0. I think they set you up to win.
It's great to let your guests win.
Really?
Actually. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm having a hard time getting guests on the show. Now here we go. All right, I'm on my first word. I said ID, then I said metal. You said security, didn't you?
I said security and driver's license.
And driver's license. Okay. So remember the clues. ID and
Metal.
and metal. Identification.
Metal. Metal's throwing me off.
First clue is ID.
What, TSA?
No. It's good. Okay. Bismillah, your turn. Third word, right?
Flight.
Airline.
No.
Okay. All right, Joshua.
Okay, that's hard.
ID, metal, identification.
Metal.
Security.
Detector? No. I'm getting further away.
No.
No.
No problem. I will do better. I use I statements. I will do better. Third word. What was your first clue for this word?
Flight.
Flight. Okay.
Airplane.
Attendant.
Yes.
Ah, very good. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I need to guess the word.
No, you're doing better. And see, Imam Majid and all you people out there who didn't believe, that's why she gets the points. Because it's the person's brain that gives you good clues. And so, anyway.
And I got to be able to guess, too.
Well, if I give you good clues.
I wish the audience could help me.
Yes,
They can see
I
the
do
word,
wish the
right?
audience could help me. When we get more technologically advanced, we're going to make a way for the audience to help us out. But in the meantime, you just got to watch. All right. ID, metal. ID, metal.
You said travel?
No, I said security was my last one, but before that it was identification. Okay, police.
Jeez.
ID, meta. Don't worry, nobody's going to hate you. The word is on their screen, but we don't see the word. So ID, metal, identification, security, police, ID, metal, identification, security. Am I hurting you or helping you?
I'm getting nothing. I am getting nothing. I am thrown off by the ID, the metal.
You're thrown off by the metal.
I'm thrown off by the metal. I mean, that's probably a great cue if I understood what it means.
Okay. I got a word that'll help next time. Okay.
Safety?
No.
No.
Don't you love that sound? Just
It's not as obnoxious as some games. It's okay.
Okay.
All right. You guessed the last one, right?
Attendant?
Yes.
Okay.
So
You're
I'm
on
on
your
my
fourth word.
Mm-hmm.
4-0. I've never been beaten so bad.
Wow.
Okay.
Should I give you a bad clue?
No.
Coffee?
Tea?
Yeah. Where's our ding ding?
Your last word better be hard. Producers, I know she's a good guest, but anyway. Okay.
Okay, I want to get this word.
Gold. ID, identification, gold, metal, security, police. No, still getting nothing?
No. Can I blame this on Ramadan? This is like,
yeah, you can.
wow. Gold.
Gold, ID, metal, identification, police, security.
Protection?
No.
No. That
Okay.
doesn't go with gold anyway, but.
It's okay. Your last word.
You're exercising patience.
Your last word.
Okay.
Hey, play to win. Play to win, because I might come back. Once I get on the roll, you know.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking here. Relationship.
Marriage? Okay. Okay. Okay, let's go a different route.
Metal.
Registration.
Does it go with gold?
Now it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
Registration.
But good question. Good question.
Registration. ID.
Yeah, registration, ID, identification, registration, ID, identification.
Police and metal?
Okay,
forget about those?
For now, forget about police and metal. Just in your experience, identification, ID, registration.
In my experience, workshop, class.
Okay, we're getting there.
Am I getting there?
Yep. Your turn. Come on, give me my sound. I didn't get it right. Thank you.
Okay.
Wait a minute, what was the first clue?
The first clue was relationship.
Relationship, and I said marriage. Okay.
One word. One word is really hard. One word.
One word.
Okay. Classmates.
Okay, compound word. Very good. Very good.
It's one word, right?
It's one word. Relationship, classmates. Classmate relationship. So it wouldn't be student, that's no relationship. Or classmate. Okay. Relationships, that was your first clue. So I always think that's the stronger clue. The supporting clue is classmates. Relationship. All I got is teacher. Oh, okay. All right. We went down the road of registration, ID, identification, conference. ID, identification, conference.
Okay. And registration.
Yeah, registration.
This is ridiculous.
No, that's not the word.
That's not the word. I don't know, like participant? No.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
not going well.
For me, yes, it's not going well.
It's not going well for me
But
either.
You're 4-0.
Terrible guessing. Okay. All right, so we said relationship, classmates. It's hard for me to think of one word.
I got my next word though. I am so ready. I'm so ready.
I hope I get it.
Bismillah.
Okay. Wow. Companions.
Companions. But your first clue was relationships. Classmates. Companions. The classmates is throwing me off. Relationships, companions, spouse?
No.
I don't know.
Classmates
what does that have to do with classmates? Was a good clue?
Relevant, I think, in my mind.
Okay. Are you ready?
I hope so. I would love to guess this word.
Lanyard.
Oh, like name tag? Badge?
Yes!
Oh my gosh!
Give it to me. Give it to me. Thank you so much. Whew. All right, we on a comeback now, 4-1. It's like the Cleveland Cavaliers coming back on the Warriors. That's what's gonna happen.
Okay. Whew. All right.
Okay, you gave me 3 clues.
Right.
Classmates.
Relationships.
Relationship. And companions or companion.
Companions.
Companions. So plural companions, but singular relationship. Okay. And classmates.
Is hang out one word?
You know, it is
Can
now.
we make it
It is hang out.
Hang out.
Yeah, hang out. Hang out. Classmate. Prom?
No.
That was a good guess, though.
It's a good guess. It's a good guess.
Classmates.
It's a very good guess.
All right.
Very good guess.
Okay. Oh, come on.
I got a new word.
Difficult.
Hard.
Close.
All right.
Classmates. Relationship. Companions. What was the last clue?
Hang out.
Hang out.
Talk.
Date. I guess these wouldn't be words that my studio producers would give me anyway. Anyway, you have won 4-1. What was that word? Your last word?
Friendship.
Friendship.
I could not think of a one-word clue.
Wow. Well, I don't even want to tell you the rest of my words, but you just beat me at my own game. How does that feel? Thank you guys for watching Think About It with Joshua Salaam, and thank you to our sponsors, pennyappealusa.org, and thank you ever so much to Sister Salma Abugideiri for coming on and giving us that knowledge. Take it, use it, and do what you can. as you saw on the show, even helping one person or giving a message to one person can do a lot. All right? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
This Deen TV video was made possible in part by Penny Appeal USA, Small Change, Big Difference, and by Recycle Processes Incorporated.